Hello and welcome back to another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance. I'm your host, Chaz Andres, and as always, we're going to get started today with the news, which is not all that much. It was kind of a quiet week in Magic, kind of a quiet week in Magic Finance, but there was something interesting that happened, which is that it got a lot easier to get into the Magic Arena closed beta. Now, if you haven't gotten a chance to play with Arena yet, but you have a friend who has, hit them up. They probably got an email this week containing 5 giveaway codes to allow other people to play Arena. So ask nicely, you might get a chance to try the newest Magic Online competitor. Now, over in Standard, the Core Set 2019 metagame is far from settled, and I guess this makes sense because we haven't had a major Standard tournament yet, and also a lot of people are holding off on buying in until rotation. What we can say is that Mono Green Stompy, Grixis Midrange, and Grixis Dragons, yeah, the deck with Sarkhan, appear to be legitimate contenders to some degree, and also White is currently locked out of the top 6 most popular decks in the metagame. The 7th Blue-White Control is still good, but this is a far fall from grace for what was considered by most, including myself, to be the best color in Dominaria. Now, over in Modern, a new challenger has appeared. I'm talking, of course, about Bant Spirits, a deck that performed really well at the Star City Games Team Open back in Worcester last weekend, and this is a deck that's caused a couple of minor MTGO spikes over the past week. Cards like Spell Queller, Selfless Spirit, and Mausoleum Wanderer are all up a couple of dollars, and that might not be the end of it. The deck requires Noble Hierarch, Geist of St. Traft, and Collected Company in order to do well, and I'm expecting those cards to see at least a moderate rise in price as this deck catches on in popularity. Moving on to gaining ground, where in Standard, our biggest gainer of the week was Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, which gained 2.5 tickets in value from 21.5 up to about 24. And this is despite the fact that Blue-White Control has kind of fallen back a bit in the pack in Standard, but it does see play in Modern, it even sees some play in Legacy, and that makes me think that this card has a heck of a high ceiling. I mean, if the price is gaining now, despite the fact that fewer people are playing it in Standard, imagine what might happen in the fall or the winter if Blue-White Control ends up being one of the best decks in post-Ravnica Standard. So I'm not saying you have to buy in right now, but I am saying that I wouldn't want to leave the summer without at least a personal set of these if you were a big Standard player and you like playing Control. It's a very good card, and it's going to be expensive for quite some time. Let's move on to Modern, where Kolaghan's Command was our biggest gainer of the week. It gained about 3.5 tickets from 15.5 all the way up to 19, and that's really just negating the losses that happened last week due to those seasonal sell-offs. So I don't think this is indicative of a bigger trend. You can buy, you can sell, it doesn't really matter with this one. It's fairly stable, despite the fact that it's leading the pack this week, which is why I want to move on to our second biggest gainer of the week, Collected Company. It's up just a little under 3 tickets at the moment, but that trend line is pointing up. Like I said, Bant Spirits is a deck now. People are going to want to build this, need 4 Collected Companies for it. So I wouldn't be surprised if this one continues to gain. It may even break the 20 ticket mark as soon as this week. Moving on to our biggest loser, where this week in Standard, it was the Scarab God yet again, dropping another 3 tickets from 7 down to 4. In fact, it's sitting at like 3.8, just below 4, and yeah. So last week when I said this one might have a dead cat balance because it sees play in all of those blue-black and Grixis Control decks that are doing so well in Standard, I guess I was wrong. I thought it might actually end up spiking a little bit, kind of like Heart of Kiran did last week, but no such luck this time, even though you still do need the card to play a lot of the decks that are good in Standard right now. And this tells me really who's playing Standard at the moment. And the answer seems to be some combination of not very many people and people who already have their Scarab Gods, thank you very much. So there's just not really any demand for this one right now. And I think really the key takeaway here is don't speculate on rotating cards unless you want them for after rotation in terms of modern play, but in terms of standard speculation, just stay away from everything from here until October. Moving on to modern, where the biggest loser of the week was a big one. It was Liliana the Last Hope. It tumbled 6 full tickets from 30 all the way down to 24, which is 20% of its price. That's pretty crazy for a modern card that still sees a ton of play. And actually, 24 tickets is pretty close to its historical low. The price also seems to have bottomed out nicely. I'm starting to see the end of that drop. And if you've been watching this series for long enough, you know what I'm about to say next. Buying opportunity. If you've been holding off buying Liliana the Last Hope, you really can't go wrong at current retail. I'm sure at some point it'll end up back over the 30 ticket mark again, so that makes this card a really good personal pickup as well as a halfway decent spec. Now this week's sneak is Mutavault. Get it? Mew? Because of the cat? Well, anyway, Mutavault bottomed out around 2 tickets back in May. It's up to about 5 tickets now and continuing to rise. This is a card that is $12 in paper. It's been as high as 10 or 11 in recent memory on Magic Online. And look, the upside isn't massive here, but it has been a while since they've printed this one. It could go a bit higher this time, and regardless, I think it'll hit 10 or 11 again at some point. So if you don't have these Mutavaults in your personal collection, now's a really good time to pick them up. As always, we're going to end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Traders sales data over the past 7 days. And this gives us a great idea of which cards are the most popular and selling the best right now, regardless of price increases and drops. If we look at overall sales by volume, there are a couple of really interesting spec targets available to us this week. First of all, we've got Vinemare as the most sold card of the week. This is the Core Set 2019 Uncommon that makes mono green Stompy hum. And remember, core sets tend to be less popular than other Magic sets. They don't tend to sell as well, they don't tend to fire as many drafts, and what that means is that even the uncommons from these sets can be worth quite a bit if they end up seeing a lot of play in the future. In the fall and the winter, we're not going to be drafting Core Set 2019 anymore, but we'll still need Vinemares, and that makes this card a really good pickup. Just sort of jam them in your carts when you're buying other things, hold on to them for a while, you'll be able to sell them for a profit at some point soon. Now, last week I touched a bit on the zombies that were in the top 5, and they're still there this week. We've got Graveyard Marshal and Death Baron, both still as top 5 most sold cards by volume, and those are still excellent midterm pickups. Either they're going to end up seeing some play in Standard, or they're going to end up being popular with the casual audience, or Saffron Olive is going to throw them in a deck at some point, but regardless, people want these cards, they're cheap. Graveyard Marshal especially seems really good in Standard, so pick these ones up before they get expensive. Moving on to overall sales by price, we've got Nicol Bolas the Ravager leading our list for the 2nd week in a row. Nicol Bolas the Ravager is actually also on the rise in terms of price. It's up about a ticket or a ticket and a half this week, and I wouldn't be surprised if those slow and steady gains continue until this one's back over 30 again. It's proven itself as part of the Standard metagame, and this is a card that everyone wants to play with. Beyond Nicol though, it's a bunch of modern and legacy cards. It's cards like Force of Will and Mox Opal and Surgical Extraction and Scalding Tarn, and this fits the narrative I've been pushing that other than a couple of select cards, people are really focusing more on the Eternal formats rather than Standard at the moment. That's all I got for you this week. I'm Chaz Andres, and join me next Monday morning for yet another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more awesome MTG content just like this. And make sure to tap the bell icon to be notified whenever a video is made live. If you want to keep watching content, here are 2 more videos for you. This video and many others are sponsored by MTGO Traders and Cape Fear Games. Buy and sell digital singles to build your online collection today with MTGO Traders, and get your paper singles, accessories, and much more from Cape Fear Games. Whatever your Magic needs, both places have you covered.